Today we're talking about I'm fine and other dog whistles of self-rejection. In other words, here's how we gaslight ourselves. And to do this, we're going to look at a scene from the movie Couples Retreat. We're kind of going in blind. You don't need to know much about the movie. Here's the gist. Some friends go on a cruise. They go swimming together and have a run-in with some sharks. Vince is the one left behind for a little bit. Then they have a little chat. And it goes something like this.
Hey, so I got bit by a shark. Were you really?
And where's the blood?
Stop being so sensitive.
They scraped you.
Can you
believe this guy?
You're so dramatic.
I've been in a
The
car
fear was a
accident.
lot
Nice
worse.
Band-Aid.
Technically, I was bit by a shark.
Were you bit or were you nipped?
I mean, if you had been bit, you probably would have lost a great deal of blood.
What difference does it make to you two anyway, what you would call it? It hurt.
Dave, I mean, really, did they penetrate your skin? Do you really need that bandage?
Lucy, I don't know what to tell you, okay? You tell me if I need the bandage.
It looks like you scraped yourself on the ladder maybe on the way out.
See, I don't know how to explain it to you. Maybe I have tough skin. Perhaps lemon sharks don't leave that bad of a mark. Maybe they're pack animals and they're marking me for later. I don't know.
Dave, I was in a car accident once, okay? And it was really scary. I had nightmares, but
I've been in a car accident too. Have you ever been bit by a shark? I'm not going to sit here and try to explain myself to a bunch of black and white suburban trash who don't know a damn thing about the ocean.
Honey, I think the fear was a lot worse than the actual attack, which I can totally appreciate, but good news is you weren't hurt, so let's not ruin the evening over it.
I'm sorry?
Honey, you weren't hurt.
Good night.
Okay, so here's a superficial read of what happened. Vince expresses his truth, which is, I was bit by a shark, it was traumatic, but I survived.
Technically, I was bit by a shark.
And then his friends start questioning him.
were you bit or were you nipped?
They doubt what he says.
I mean, if you had been bit, you probably would have lost a great deal of blood.
They ridicule the experience. They belittle it.
I mean, really, did they penetrate your skin? Do you really need that bandage?
They use logic or past experiences to disqualify the event.
Dave, I was in a car accident once, okay? And it was really scary. I had nightmares.
And I mean, that's essentially what logic is. It's the conclusions we draw based on past experiences. So if you go on 5 blind dates and they all suck, logic would be blind dates just suck. So, and they straight up deny that it happened.
Honey, you weren't hurt.
Our guy Vince is in a bit of a huff. He's upset, he's hurt, he's offended, and he's invalidated by literally every way possible. And he reacts to all of this by feeling the need to over-explain himself.
Maybe I have tough skin. Perhaps lemon sharks don't leave that bad of a mark. Maybe they're pack animals and they're marking me for later. I don't know.
By getting defensive.
I'm not going to sit here and try to explain myself to a bunch of black and white suburban trash.
By looking for external validation.
Honey, I think the fear was a lot worse than the actual attack, which I can totally appreciate, but
Here, if you focus, his eyes are scanning for some sympathy from his wife. And finally, he withdraws. He up and leaves because he's had about enough.
Good night.
Now, this is the superficial read. Let's take a second look, but this time let's read the text as metaphor. What if all these people are you? You are Vince, you are his friends, and all of this is just internal dialogue. So to understand this, we're going to walk through another metaphor. Inception up in here. So the psyche is like a big house, and the ego a real estate agent, who will not hesitate to shove anything less than pristine in the basement. Because what's the job of a real estate agent? To show this house to prospective buyers, to people who are going to be interested. So this agent is only going to show the parts of the house that are nice, that they know is going to get a good reaction. So that means that everything that's not nice, that's potentially off-putting, is going to be shoved into the basement. So this splits the psyche into 2 parts. So we've got a column A full of socially acceptable traits that we're going to flash at anybody who's looking. We're proud of those traits. And a dreaded column B, full of all the things that we're ashamed of and we don't want to acknowledge at all. So it's essentially the ethos of,
I don't know what came over me. I'm not usually like this. That was my flop era.
I love that term. If you want to know more about what it's like to live with this split, check out my Trauma TV on Cruella, Why Suppression Does Not Work. So this is a coping mechanism we learn as children. We've all grown up with the carrot and stick approach, where some traits are valued and rewarded and some are punished. So whatever is punishable, whatever we think is going to get us rejected, we are going to reject first. So this means we deploy the 4 Ds.
Just remember the 5 Ds of dodgeball.
Dismiss, deny, disown, disconnect.
Dodge.
I see a strong, confident, beautiful young lady. Oh, look, you're here too. I'm just teasing. Stop taking everything so seriously.
This is such a good example because it shows us that she's heard this kind of talk so much before that she's internalized it. Because you can tell that she's at least a little bit affected by what her mom said. But she's so quick to dismiss that reaction. Watch her facial expression. It's so quick. She's affected, but then she shuts it down. So clearly she's internalized all this talk of, yeah, don't be so sensitive. This could be the equivalent of you want something, you don't get it, and you think to yourself, I didn't want it that much anyway. This is dismissing.
Honey, you weren't hurt.
Okay, so we've got 2 examples for this one. The first is the you weren't hurt, honey. We do this of it wasn't that bad. You know, we downplay something. We just want to reconcile the fact that it happened or the fact that we're feeling this way or the fact that it's unacceptable for us to feel whatever it is that we're feeling. The other example, okay, so I've been kind of going through it lately and I've really been drawn to the disenfranchisement genre of the 90s. So I put on Scream the other day and this scene just jumped at me and I was like, this is perfect. This is textbook.
I've been selfish, and I want to apologize.
No, really, I'm the one who's been selfish and self-absorbed with all this post-traumatic stress.
You lost your mom.
Yeah, I know, but you're right. Enough is enough. I can't wallow in the grief process forever.
So Sid's boyfriend Billy is just a little bit impatient. He wants to get laid, and he's like, yo, I know your mom died, but is this going to happen or what? He's constantly badgering her, pressuring her. And at this point in the movie, she's very vulnerable. She feels alienated. She feels persecuted because the news cycle is bringing up the mom's murder again. So there's a lot of attention. She's targeted by Ghostface and she just needs some kind of support desperately. So she kind of internalizes all this badgering. So she apologizes to him. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my PTSD bullshit. And she goes on and she just kind of starts to underplay her whole experience. So she's like, yeah, I'm sorry, you know, I should get over it. And she does give him what she wants. So that's a way that we deny ourselves what we're feeling. Of gaslighting, of, you know what, it wasn't that bad.
Shut up! Stop it, you weed, you baby! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Okay, so let's break this down to its core. Essentially, Annette Bening is having an internal conflict between 2 parts. A part that's emotional, that's frustrated, that's grieving, that's at a breaking point, and another part that resents it for being, quote, weak. Because like we saw in the previous examples, she's just internalized this kind of talk. So she's disowning the other part. She's like, I need you to stop this right now. And when we do this, it's not always this explicit of shut up. It can be, but it's not always. Oftentimes, it's just dissociating. But we do this. We try to put a distance between us and the part. But yeah, ultimately we want to say, that's not me.
Can I pet your puppy? It is adorable.
Yes. That is called a practical joke.
Man, this scene is really heartbreaking to me, so it was a bit difficult to watch. Let's break it down. Mantis here is an empath. And what is empathy? Empathy is not just tuning into other people's emotions, because empathy is a defense mechanism. It's also taking on their emotions, accommodating, shape-shifting. So what happens? She gets bit by Rocket And obviously she's upset and she feels betrayed because she asked for permission. She doesn't know the rules. She's literally an alien in this type of social structure. So when she's bit, she's hurt. But then she sees that the dominant emotion is laughter of that was supposed to be a joke. This is kind of similar to don't be so sensitive. So she changes her tune. She disconnects from the part of her that's uncomfortable. Have you been in a situation like that before where you're just going along with the group? But really, that's not how you feel. The motive for all of these cases is to not be rejected. Because all these different people are thinking a thought or feeling a feeling that's going to go against the group that might create conflict. So they immediately dump that part of them one way or the other. And this is very quick. It is subconscious because we learn it in childhood.
I've always believed that if you want to go somewhere, you have to know where you are on the map first. Accepting that I'm at point A does not mean that I'm not getting to point B. If anything, me admitting this is going to give me directions on how to get to where I want to go. So that's why validation is so important in getting us to move forward. But I want to make a distinction. I mean validating an experience and maybe not the facts. Let me explain. Was Vince technically bit by a shark? No. But his experience was, I was attacked, I was scared, and I survived. That was a big experience. So to have his friends belittle it as it wasn't a big deal, that's not for anybody to say. So yeah, maybe at that point in time, Vince just wanted to feel like, yes, it was a big deal. Yes, you are right in feeling this way. So your feelings are valid. Maybe your thoughts and interpretations are not. Best example, you get a text that says, we're going out later. You can come too if you want. And you interpret this as, oh, they don't want me to come. Is that interpretation correct? Maybe not, depending on the variables, the person and your relationship. But is your emotion of I feel abandoned and I feel unwanted valid? Yes. Because it's clearly an echo of a childhood wounding of not feeling wanted. And now you're just projecting it all over the place. So yeah, just let him say that he got bit by a shark.
Technically, I was bit by a shark.
Well, that concludes our tour. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I'll catch you next time.